catfishing and bluegill fishing go hand in hand. And I just love bluegill fishing. So what I do is just spend some time, days, even weeks, just catching lots of bluegill. Sometimes I don't even get all that on camera. And what I'll do is I'll cut my bluegill and fillet it. I didn't shoot footage because I was just tired that day. I got my COVID shot and it was just wiped me out. But I fillet them into thin little strips. And those thin little strips mimic minnows and shad. Instead of chunk bait, I use strip bait, okay? And then I coat the bottom with salt, and then I put a layer of fish, then another layer of salt, layer of fish, layer of salt, layer of fish, until you have a whole can like a bucket like this. That'll keep for, keep for a few months until the meat degrades to a point to where you won't be able to use it much anymore. My other recipe uses borax and all that, and that kind of goes beyond the scope of this video, which it'll just last almost indefinitely with borax. But I find that salted bluegill is a little bit better because salt is a natural thing, and animals around worldwide, you see farmers will put out a salt lick in the middle of a pasture for deer or their cows or horses, things like that. Anywhere they're in a mountainous region or rocks, and you'll find little animals licking rocks and stuff because there's salt in it, and they can get salt that way. Ooh, it smells like fish, but it's not rotten. It's not rotten. This example of some strip bait here, right? You see that? Right? You see how that basically mimics the shape of a minnow or a piece of shad or something, Same thing. Ugh. Salty. That you put that at the end of the hook, that'll flow into the current just like if I were tying a fly. The difference is there's a real piece of meat on it and there's salt. Right? Salt that the fish would bite. What kind of salt? Do not use table salt because it's iodine and it's just not good. Buy yourself some swimming pool salt. Right? You get this Home Depot, Lowe's, anywhere that sells swimming pool, 40-pound bag, and you'll have enough salt for, I've had this thing for about 2 or 3 years now, something like that. It's important to layer it. So put about a 1/4 inch of salt at the bottom of your container, whatever container you're wanting to use. And then you can use chunk baits, but I think thin strip baits work best because it's thin and the salt will get in and absorb into the meat really easily. What the salt does is it prevents bacteria from growing. It prevents, it's the pH balance. It makes it extreme to the point where bacteria won't grow. So it won't. This is the way people used to cure meat before refrigeration with salt. You ever heard of salt pork and things like that? I generally only want to salt as much meat as I'm going to fish in about, 3 months or so. And so I'll easily fish this out in, a few trips, because someone asked me about, can they use this with sunfish, not just bluegill, but actually, the little sunfish or the greenies or other types of fish. Yeah, you can use it. It doesn't matter what fish. I mean, saltwater guys will use this for mullet and stuff, and various pogies and various baits like that in saltwater. Make sure that the bait you use is legal to use as bait. Last time I went out, I caught a nice striper, but I can't use striped basses for bait. I can't use game fish for bait. The only game fish you can use for bait in Alabama is, guess what? Brim, bluegill, and sunfishes. Largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, any other fish you can't use for bait. So you just need to be mindful of the laws in your area regarding that bait. And I caught these on the Holt Lake where I normally fish, and that's where I'm going to fish them. So I know something changed in the law in Alabama about, I think it's using live bait in different places, because people will catch live bait in one lake, try to keep them alive, and then go fish in another lake. I don't think you can do that in Alabama anymore, because they're trying to limit this Asian carp stuff. But I generally will, because at smaller sizes, juvenile sizes, Asian carp look just like other types of shad. You really can't tell them a difference unless you are like a biologist or something. Generally what I do is whatever lake that I catch the bait in, that's the lake I'm going to fish the bait in. Get a marker here and mark, you know, salted bluegill, Holt Lake. And I should have put the date on it, but I didn't because I just plan to fish these out pretty quickly. But anyway, someone asked, and so I just wanted to kind of explain generally how I do my salted baits. It works.